All right. So we have our friends here today.
Yes.
Our first couple friend that we made when we were dating.
Forever ago.
They're two of our best friends, and they're visiting us, so we wanted them to be in our little video. They've been married for
2 cups.
27 years.
27.
Kingsley and Melissa, by the way.
Yes. Johnson.
27 and a half years. That is a long time.
Okay.
Yes.
She's like, we're barely making 12.
So we just wanted to ask, I don't know, a few simple questions. Like 27 years, obviously it's a long time. They have 3 kids.
One in
So,
college now.
What is your secret to this longevity?
Do you want to go first time?
I thought you were going to tell a joke.
Uh,
So I think one of the things is I think a few years into marriage, like I realized that maybe I didn't know Kingsley as much as I thought I did. And I think several times throughout the last 27 years, I think I've come to that same realization over and over again.
I do that every time I see him too.
And so I would say, because like I think when you first get married, like you really feel like you know everything there is to know about the person you're getting ready to marry, and that you have them figured out, and so everything's going to be great. Like you just feel like, you know, I got this. Like I know who this person is, and but once you start realizing, oh, maybe I don't know them as much as I thought, like those are usually where the crisis comes in. So I think maybe approaching from the very beginning, and then throughout the entire time that you're married, just realizing I'm never going to know everything there is to know about this person, because I'm still learning. I don't even know everything there is to know about myself. And so it would be really silly for them to know about me, or for Kingsley to know about me what I don't even know about myself yet, and vice versa. And so just like we're taking the time to get to know ourselves, and experience, you know, as we experience life, throughout life, we start learning more things about ourselves, and we realize we also need to continue to be learning more about our spouse, and always being open to be taught something new.
That's good.
So yeah,
Good. Just that spirit of like
Patience.
willing to learn, though.
yeah, just
Right.
that
To
willingness
know
to
that
learn.
you don't know it all, and
Yeah. It's interesting, like I was thinking about how as missionaries, like we have been living in another country, in Greece, and one of the things that I would always tell people that would come, talking to them about culture shock, and you know how to deal with culture shock. And you know, one of the things you have to learn is like, you know, there's different ways for them to communicate. Communication is going to be different, and so like when you first get there, you have to be a learner, and just learning how do these people communicate different than I do, and like not just verbally, but also what are their nonverbal cues, so that you don't get offended by something just because you don't understand it. And I would always say, you know, treat the country like you would treat a person. But I think, you know, in a marriage, like you have to treat a person like you would a country, and know that this person has a history, and there's a reason why they do the things that they do. And the only way you're going to know that is by studying the history and finding out the history, so that you can understand why they do things differently. Because just because it's different doesn't mean that it's wrong. There's a reason behind it, and so you have to kind of dig deeper. And learning the language is the first step to overcoming culture shock. And it's the same thing with your marriage. Like you just need to learn your spouse's language. And it's not just the verbal, what they're saying, but it's all the nonverbal stuff too. It's like the first step of really understanding, you know, where they're coming from. But then just learning the history as well, because we both come from completely different histories. And that shaped who we are. And so unless you know where that history is, it will be very confusing to you why they do things the way they do. Every time those situations come up, you're like, I don't understand why you would even think that way. So,
But there's just so much more to
yeah.
study and learn.
Yep.
yeah, it's just always learning and always
Yeah.
being open to learn.
Yeah,
I think that
Yep.
would be
that's
key.
great.
Definitely a different language.
Yeah.
Like, so when she says always or never, she doesn't mean by the numbers. She's just trying to emphasize the feeling.
Yes, we do that.
Yeah.
But like the number one thing that comes to mind is just something that helped me like in life even before marriage was a decision that I made that, you know, whatever happened in my life, or what I was going through, I would never run from God. I always run to Him.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
And that's been like really, really crucial to me to do that. Because if you just try to figure it out yourself or or go on your own, it doesn't work.
Right.
And the next is from like, you know, when I decided I wanted to marry her, I knew it was because I loved her heart. And so just remembering that no matter what we were going through or the conflict that's currently going on, I know her heart is still there under there. And so I love that heart. I can deal with what's happening now because I know that her heart that I fell in love with from the beginning is still in there.
That's
I might not be able to see it right now, but I know it's there.
Very cloudy.
And
Yeah.
like those two things is like really been important. And I think my more recent awareness is really to deal things, to take things to God, and to really deal with my attitude, even if I think our initial impression is always that our attitude is justified,
Right.
but to really lay that before God first, and then deal with things with her, because when you really look at it, it's like you only look from your perspective,
Right.
generally, and then you come like a court case. It's like I'm not going to win this,
Yeah.
but if we remember what Jesus did for us, and we humble ourselves before Him, then
Right.
we can lay down those attitudes and
Right.
and come together and say, look, I love you. We need to work this out.
Yeah.
So
Such attitude of humility from both. From what both of you shared is humility.
Yeah, lots of humility.
And learning
Yeah.
to willingness to learn.
Yep.
And I know, just knowing you guys, I know there's a lot of humor involved in day-to-day life, which we've always said that's kind of key to our relationship
Yep.
as well. So
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if you are right, don't throw that out in the argument.
Yeah.
Bend a
I think, both of us, I think it is lifelong learning.
right.
Yeah.
And even now, we're learning,
Yeah.
what Kingsley was talking about. We are learning how, when Kingsley pushes a button for me and it makes me really angry, or I get really upset, or my feelings get really hurt and it's really intense.
Yeah.
The first question, or the first thing that I say can't be, why is he doing this to me? It has to be, why am I feeling this way? Why is it so extreme that why am I so angry? It's like he did this thing and I'm so angry by it. So obviously he's pushing a button that is connected to something that probably has nothing to do with this moment. And so to really take time to step back and find out why I have this really deep, strong emotion, and take him out of the equation first before I bring him back into it. I think because 9 times out of 10, it's not the moment and it's not him, it's something else that's going on inside of me. And if I just take care of that first, then that's going to more than likely, completely dissolve the argument, or, make me look at the situation different and be like, I'm going to let it go. Because
Or get to a level where you can at least discuss it
Yeah.
and being, hey, you know, because I know sometimes when we're getting into something, I can tell she's upset because her mannerisms change. But at that point, I don't want to push it.
Yeah.
And then after we both kind of have some time and settle, then we can come back together and we can discuss it like, you know, normal human
Where you
beings, I
both
guess.
said that you examine yourselves first.
Yeah.
You know, and with God before you start addressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of learn like the long hard way of just can't not to ignore emotions.
Yeah.
But that's emotions are really giving you clues that there's something else going on.
Inside. Yes. Yeah. Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. We love you guys. So they said they're missionaries and going to Cyprus next. So we'll put their information here somewhere if you guys want to know more about what they're doing.
Their address, so if you want to visit Cyprus.
Fighting human trafficking.
Yes.
So
good cause. Because I got the bracelets.
Oh, all right. So we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Bye.